leave the mask on? I'd like to leave it on if I can be heard all right. Good. So let me introduce the installing team for this morning, the installing officers. I'm the installing master. My name is Tim Lindquist. I'm a past master of Oriental in 2019. Also, the installing marshal is worshipful brother Roy Bergman. And the installing chaplain is our current chaplain, Brother John Herman. So at this point, let me say that the installation of officers is in a very real way, a culminating experience, a rite of passage, I guess is a good way to put it.
Join the meeting.
It's one of the things that the Lodge does openly. A public is invited. Of course, this year is a very unusual year from all perspectives. It's especially important not only for all of the officers that are advancing, but most especially for the master, the new master. And of course, soon to be worshipful brother Don Davis is no exception. And this year, so many of you know that I used to be a professor. I'm now retired. But I used to equate the 4 years of an undergraduate degree and then the graduation with becoming a master in the following sense. Don has spent his time going around the chairs in this lodge for a number of years. And this is, in a very real way, his graduation. The coming year is not like his senior year, but instead it's much more like his practical internship. In the coming year, he will be certainly learning and participating with the lodge, but he is in the coming year exercising everything that he's learned in Masonry by going through the chairs. And all of the other officers are in the midst of working their way toward that practical or internship year as well. So with that said, I would like to invite the 2020 officers of Oriental Lodge number 20 to retire, and we will invite you back in shortly. John? So they are doing the apron exchange and lining themselves up, getting ready to come back in. The officers from last year, all of the officers from last year are going to be continuing as officers this year, except of course, worship brother Matt. Unfortunately, Matt isn't able to be with us this morning for lots of different reasons, but he is the outgoing master. So shortly we'll continue with the installation of the officers and kind of the order that we go through. There are all of the installations. We start with the master and go through the remaining of the other officers as well. Then after we have done the installation, we invite Don to lead the remainder of the meeting. He should certainly have some remarks, I hope. Matter of fact, I've spoken with him and I know that he has some interesting things to say, and we will then close with a benediction. Luke, I know that the guests who are here will be introduced later on. I wonder, other folks who have joined us virtually, and might be a good time to introduce anybody who's joined us virtually or not.
Yeah, we have quite a few folks that have joined us virtually. At least a couple dozen here. We probably have more on Facebook Live as well. But we do have Right Worshipful Bill Robertson joining us. We have Worshipful Brother Dennis DeVan joining us. We have the Gila Valley Lodge joining us from Florence, Arizona. We have William Kittredge joining us from, that's going to be outside of Boston, Massachusetts. He's currently in El Paso. And we have Worship Brother Matt Adams joining us as well online. We also have Worship Brother George Rusk joining us from Oriental, past pastor, and I believe that would be the junior warden of the Grand Lodge this year. Is that correct? Okay. And that's some of them.
Very good. Thank you, Worshipful Brother Luke. And everyone who has joined us virtually, welcome. Brother Marshall, are the officers of this lodge lately chosen, assembled, and ready to be installed in their respective offices?
They are without and await your pleasure, Worship Master.
Then you will conduct them to the seat prepared for them. Brother Chaplain, will you lead us in prayer?
Great architect of the universe, in thy name we have again assembled under the canopy of this lodge room ceiling to proceed in the ceremonies of our order to observe the peaceful transition of leadership and responsibility from one brother to another in fulfilling the future of this lodge in a new year. This year we especially ask your continued presence and encouragement this time of worldwide pandemic. Call us to remember those brothers who will no longer be carrying their working tools with us into the future, and receive our gratitude for the lessons they taught us and the friendly counsel of their presence this passing year. We ask thee once again to watch over those who will serve this lodge as officers in the ensuing year, and especially Don Davis, who has been chosen to be its master. Give him wisdom and patience that he may rule with justice, keeping in mind the welfare of all his brethren. Amen.
So motivated.
Worship Master, the officers of this lodge, lately chosen, are present and ready to be installed in their respective offices.
You will then present to me the brother who has been elected to discharge the important duties of Master of Oriental Lodge number 20.
I have great pleasure in presenting to you Brother Don Davis, who has been elected by this lodge to be its master for the ensuing year. It is well known that it is all this worship master. The certificate vouching for his proficiency in the ritual of our order is evidence that he is well skilled in our ancient craft.
Appears to be in order.
Should be indeed.
It is indeed known that Brother Davis is well skilled in our ancient craft. He is zealous in his regard for the interests of our order, and he is duly qualified to discharge the special duties of the Master's chair.
I find him to be of good morals, true and trusting, and he is a lover of the fraternity. I doubt not that he will discharge the duties with fidelity and with honor.
Brethren, you now behold before you Brother Don Davis, who has been duly elected to serve your lodge as its worshipful master, and who is now about to be installed. If any of you have any reasons to urge why he should not be installed, you will now make those reasons known, or forever hold your peace. Brother Don Davis, hearing no objection, I shall most cheerfully proceed to install you in the dignified and honorable position to which your suffrages of your brethren have called you, not doubting that the dignity of the Oriental chair will be well preserved in your keeping, and that the interest and welfare of your lodge may be safely confided to your charge. Before commencing your investiture, however, it is necessary that you should signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duties of the master of a lodge, and which on no account are ever to be neglected or departed from. They are as follows. You agree to be a good man and true, and strictly to obey the moral law. You agree to be peaceable citizens and cheerfully to conform to the laws of the country in which you reside. You promise not to be concerned in plots and conspiracies against government, but patiently to submit to the decisions of the Supreme Legislature. You agree to pay a proper respect to the civil magistrate and to work diligently, live credibly, and act honorably by all men. You agree to hold in veneration the original rulers and patrons of the Order of Masonry and their regular successors, supreme and subordinates, according to their stations, and to submit to the awards and resolutions of your brethren when convened, in every case consistent with the Constitution's order. You agree to avoid private piques and quarrels and to guard against intemperance or excess. You agree to be cautious in carriage and behavior, courteous to your brethren, and faithful to your lodge. You promise to respect genuine brethren and to discountenance impostors and all dissenters from the original plan of Masonry. You agree to promote the general good of society, to cultivate the social virtues, and to propagate the knowledge of the art. You promise to pay homage to the Grand Master, who is the Grand Master for the time being, and to his officers when duly installed, and strictly to conform to every edict of the Grand Lodge or General Assembly of Masons that is not subversive to the principles and groundwork of Masonry. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of Masonry, except as duly authorized by the Grand Lodge. You promise a regular attendance on the committees and communications of the Grand Lodge on receiving proper notice, and to pay attention to all the duties of Masonry whenever Masons are convened. You admit that no new lodge should be formed without permission of the Grand Lodge, and that no countenance should be given to any irregular lodge, or to any person clandestinely initiated therein, being contrary to the ancient charges of the order. You admit that no person can regularly be made a Mason in or admitted a member of any regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into his character. And you agree that no visitors shall be received into your lodge without due examination and producing proper vouchers of their having been initiated in a regular lodge. These are among the regulations of free and accepted Masons, and to these your assent must be freely given. Do you submit to these charges and promise to support these regulations as masters have done in all ages before you?
Yes, sir.
Then, my brother, in consequence of this assurance and with full confidence in your capacity and zeal, I now install you, Brother Davis, as worshipful master of Oriental Lodge number 20. Brother Marshall, you will invest him with a jewel of his station. The jewel of the master is the square. The square, my brother, is an emblem of morality. And as it is the special badge of the master's office, it should constantly remind you that not only by precept, but also by example, you should promote good morals among the brethren, and thus endeavor to avert the shadow of any scandal or reproach against the fraternity. Your former life has given evidence that this jewel will not be an unmeaning symbol. In your hands, and solemnly I charge you to take good care that its luster not be dimmed through any act of your own. I now present you with the Book of Holy Writings. The Book of Holy Writings is the great light of Masonry in this lodge, and for you it is the Holy Bible, and should ever be the great law of the brotherhood. It will guide you to all truth. It will direct you to eternal happiness, and an attentive regard to the divine precepts that it contains will ensure your success in the fulfillment of the duties that you are about to assume. The working tools of the craft are next. They will be presented to you, that as the master workman, you may instruct the craftsmen in the various duties and virtues which they have been selected to illustrate. First is the square. It teaches us well to regulate our every action and to let our conduct be governed by the principles of morality and virtue. Next, the compasses, which teach us to limit our desires in every station and never to suffer our passions or our prejudices to become the masters of our judgment. The rule directs the undeviating discharge of all our duties, that we should press forward in the straight path of right and truth without inclining to the one hand or the other in all our doings, having eternity in view. The plumb line is an emblem of moral rectitude. It teaches us to avoid all dissimulation and to pursue that honest and upright course in life which will tend to our elevation in the higher realms of immortality. There are still other important things which you will receive in charge. First is the Book of Constitutions. This Book of Constitutions, you are expected diligently to search and from time to time to cause its contents to be read aloud in your lodge, that none may remain ignorant of the precepts it enjoins or of the ordinance which it promulgates. Next are the bylaws. This book of bylaws contains the rules of your lodge, which it will be your special duty to see carefully and punctually executed. Next is the charter, which I believe is hanging up. And the charter is the authority under which your lodge is held, and which you are carefully to preserve and duly transmit to your successor in the master's chair. You will now be seated. Brother Marshall, you will next present the junior warden-elect.
Worship Master, I now present to you for installation Brother Eddie Chavez, who has been duly elected by this lodge to serve as junior warden for the ensuing year. He is proficient in our ritual as attested by this certificate.
Brother Eduardo Eddie Chavez, you have been elected junior warden of this lodge, and I now invest you with the jewels and badge of your high position. The jewel of the junior warden is the plum. The plum admonishes us to walk uprightly in our several stations, to hold the scale of justice in equal poise, to observe the just medium between intemperance and pleasure, and to make our passions and prejudice coincide with the line of our duty. To you is committed the superintendence of the craft during the hours of refreshment. It is therefore indispensably necessary that you should not only be temperate and discreet in your indulgence and your own inclinations, but that you should carefully observe that none of the craft be suffered to convert the means of refreshment into intemperance or excess. Your regular and punctual attendance is particularly requested, and I have no doubt that you will faithfully execute the duty which you owe to your present appointments. My brother, look well to the side. Brother Marshall, you will next present the brother who has been elected as treasurer.
Worship Master, I take pleasure in presenting to you Brother John Durham, who has been elected treasurer.
Brother John Durham, you have been elected treasurer of Oriental Lodge number 20, and I now invest you with the badge of your office. jewel of the treasure are the keys. The keys forming the jewel of your station have a twofold significance. They are instruments to bind as well as to make loose, to make fast as well as to open. They will never, I am confident, be used by you in any other manner than that which the Constitution, laws, and regulations of the lodge shall direct. You will receive all monies from your secretary, keep a just and accurate account thereof, and pay the same out by order of the worshipful master and the consent of the lodge. Brother Marshall, you'll now present the secretary-elect.
Worshipful Master, I take pleasure in presenting to you Brother Frank Moyer, who has been elected secretary of this lodge for the ensuing year.
Brother Frank Moyer, you have been elected secretary.
Join the meeting.
And I will now invest you with the badge of your office. And of course, it's a writing instrument. In investing you with your official jewel, the pens, I am persuaded that they will make an endearing record, not only to your praise, but also to the welfare of the lodge. It is your duty to observe the will and pleasure of the worshipful master, to keep a faithful record of all things proper to be written, transmit a copy of the same to the Grand Lodge as required, receive all monies from the brethren, and pay the same out to the treasurer and take his receipt therefore. Brother Marshall, will you please seat our secretary? Brother Marshall, you will next present the brother who has been elected, or not elected, appointed as worthy chaplain for installation.
Worshipful Master, I take pleasure in presenting to you Brother John Herman, who has been appointed chaplain of this lodge.
Reverend John Herman, that holy book is also the great light in Masonry and forever sheds its benignant rays upon every lawful assemblage of free and accepted Masons. Teach us from its life-giving precepts. Invoke upon our labors the blessing of that divine being whose infinite goodness is so fully reveals and unfolds to us, and warn us by its lessons of wisdom and truth. And you will have faithfully performed your sacred functions and fulfilled your important duties. It is your duty to perform those solemn services which we should constantly render to our great Creator, and which may, by elevating our thoughts, strengthening our virtues, and purifying our minds, prepare us for admission to that society of the blessed in the realms of the life and light eternal. It is fitting that an emblem of sacred volume should be the jewel of your office, and with it I now invest you. Brother Marshall, you will now seat our chaplain. Brother Marshall will now present the brother who has been appointed Marshal of Oriental Lodge number 20.
First Master, I take pleasure in presenting J. D'Arestia, who has been appointed to this lodge as Marshal for the ensuing year.
Brother J. D'Arestia, you have been appointed as the Marshal of this lodge, and I can now present you with the jewels of your office. Your jewel is a baton. The baton is an emblem of command and is sufficiently significant of your duties. You will, under the direction of the Master, take charge of all processions of the lodge, and as the proper performance of many ceremonies will depend upon the manner in which your duties will be discharged. You are enjoined to be the most careful in their performance. You will now take your proper place. Brother Marshall, we will now present the brethren who have been appointed to serve the lodge as senior and junior deacons.
First Master, I have pleasure in presenting to you for installation Brothers Justin Stevens, who has been appointed to serve this lodge as senior deacon, and Brother Michael Harris, who has been appointed to serve this lodge as junior deacon.
Brother Justin Stevens and Michael Harris, you have been appointed as deacons of this lodge, and you will now receive the jewels of your office. They indicate that it is your province to attend upon the Master and the warden, and to act as their proxies in the active duties of this lodge. It will be your special duty, Brother Senior Deacon, to carry orders from the worshipful Master in the east to the senior warden in the west and elsewhere about the lodge as required, to attend all alarms at the door of the preparation room, to receive and conduct candidates during their initiation, and to introduce and accommodate visiting brethren. You, Brother Junior Deacon, will carry messages from the senior warden in the west to the junior warden in the south and elsewhere about the lodge as directed. You will attend all alarms at the door and see that the lodge is duly tiled. These rods, my brothers, they are distinctive of your office and will now be entrusted to your care, and believing you from your past deportment in the lodge that your duties will be discharged and with ability and zeal. I dismiss you to your respective places. Brother Marshall, you will now present the brethren who are to serve the lodge as stewards.
Worshipful Master, I take pleasure in presenting to you brothers Mark Geyer and Justin Ivy, who have been appointed to serve this lodge as stewards for the ensuing Masonic year.
Brother Mark Geyer and Brother Justin Ivy, you have been appointed to the position of stewards of this lodge, and I will now instruct you in your duties. In olden times, your province was to superintend and provide for the festivals of the craft, to assist in the collection of dues and subscriptions, to keep an account of the expenses for refreshments, and to see that the tables were properly supplied and every brother suitably provided for. In later times, however, the provision of formal banquet-style refreshments in lodges are generally ceased, and your functions will now be to prepare candidates for admission and to perform those duties with Masonic custom, which has been assigned to you of days of procession. Receive the jewels of your office. And also the white rods. And now repair to your respective places. Brother installing Marshal, you now conduct our newly installed master to the east. Oh. Worshipful Master, I congratulate you on your ascension to this time-honored office. The duties incumbent upon you in your exalted station are fraught with grave responsibilities. Remember that the honor, reputation, and usefulness of your lodge will materially depend upon the skill and diligence with which you manage its concerns, and that the happiness of its members will be generally promoted in proportion to the watchful care with which you cherish the genuine principles of our institution. For a pattern of imitation, consider the great luminary of nature, which, rising in the east, regularly diffuses light and luster to all within its circle. In like manner, it is your providence to spread and communicate light and instruction to the brethren of your lodge. Forcibly impress upon them the dignity and high importance of Masonry, and seriously admonish them never to disgrace it. Charge them to practice out of the lodge those duties that have been taught in it, and by amiable, discreet, and virtuous conduct to convince mankind of the goodness of this institution, so that when a person is said to be a member of the lodge, the world may know that he is one to whom the burdened heart may pour out its sorrows, one to whom distress may prefer its suit, one whose hand is guided by justice and whose heart is expanded by benevolence. In short, by diligent observance of the bylaws of your lodge, the Constitution of Masonry, and above all the Holy Scriptures, which are given as a rule and guide of our faith, you will be enabled to acquit yourself with the highest honors here and lay up on a crown of rejoicing which shall continue when time shall be no more. Will the wardens please rise? Junior warden. Brother junior warden, you are too well acquainted with the principles of Masonry to warrant any distrust that you will be found wanting in the discharge of your duty. Suffice it to say that what you have seen praiseworthy in others, you should carefully imitate, and what in them may have appeared defective to you, should yourself avoid. You should be an example of discretion and propriety, for it is only by a due regard for our laws and regulations, as shown in your own conduct, that you can expect obedience from your brethren and from others. You are diligently to assist your master in the discharge of his trust, diffusing light and imparting knowledge to all whom he shall place under your care. In the absence of the master, you will succeed to the high duties of his office. Your requirements must therefore be such as will ensure proper instruction to the craft. From the spirit which you have hitherto evinced, I entertain no doubt that your future conduct will be such as will merit the applause of your brethren and the testimony of a good conscience. Please be seated. Brethren of Oriental 20, such is the nature of our Constitution, that as some must of necessity rule, so too must others, of course, learn to submit and obey. Humility in both is an essential duty. The officers who have been chosen to govern your lodge are sufficiently conversant with the rules and propriety and the laws of the institution to avoid exceeding the authority with which they have been entrusted. And you are too generous of disposition to envy their preferment. I therefore trust that you have but one aim, to please each other and unite in the grand design of promoting happiness. Finding, my brethren, as this association has been formed and perfected in so much unanimity and concord, it may also long continue. May you long enjoy every satisfaction and delight which unselfish friendship can possibly afford. May kindness and brotherly affection distinguish your conduct as men and as Masons. Within the peaceful walls of this lodge, may your children's children celebrate with joy and gratitude the annual recurrence of this auspicious and solemn occasion. And may the tenets of our profession be transmitted through this lodge, pure and unimpaired, from generation to generation. Worshipful Master, it now remains for me to present to you this gavel, the emblem of your power. In the hands of the Master, the gavel may be made an instrument of great good or of greater evil. With it, the Master governs his lodge and the welfare and prosperity of the lodge. In a great measure, it depends upon your judicious use of it. In your hands, I am confident that it will be wielded for the best interest of your brother. Master, behold your brother. Brethren, behold your master. The Brethren of Oriental Lodge number 20 will now arise and salute the worshipful Master with a hearty round of applause. Will everyone please rise? Installing Marshal, will you now please make the proclamation? Brother Marshal, will you now make the proclamation?
By order of the Most Worshipful Grand Lodge of Arizona, I do now proclaim the officers of Oriental Lodge number 20, except for the Tyler and the senior warden, to be duly installed.
In the position.
And the issue.
Worshipful Master, I now turn the lodge over to your direction.
Thank you, Worshipful. Thank you. Masonic dignitaries, fellow Mason brothers, visitors, and viewers on Zoom from around the world, thank you for joining this tremendous day for us. The Freemasonry goes back 300 years in its current form as speculative masonry. But operative masonry goes back thousands of years. And many of the lessons that we learn and share today were born thousands of years ago with stonemasonry. But to get a better understanding of my Masonic journey, we must go back about 100 years and talk about my grandfather, Clarence Davis. In the mid-20s, around 1922 or 25, he became an employee of the railroad service in northern New Jersey and the greater metropolitan New York City area. And I'll come back to that time frame later for a different reason. But like many brothers at that time, or rather railway employees, most of them were Freemasons. And that's when he became a Freemason. And for the next 15 years, he shoveled coal daily on locomotives on railroads. After 15 years, he decided he would make it a long-term investment. So he advanced and progressed and became an engineer. And he drove trains for the next 25 years. And he died on the job. And when I was an infant, I never met him. And my father never discussed him very much when I was a child. I didn't know that he was a Mason until my father became a Mason when I was around 8 or 9 years old. And as I began getting older, I asked Dad other questions about Freemasonry, but he wouldn't answer them. He was very old school and very tight-lipped about the goings-on within a lodge. So it brings me great pleasure to have this happening so that the world can see our installations. My dad's biggest lesson to me, I think, was the value of good hard work. He was never one to goof off and be lazy. He was always doing something, and he always put me to task at doing the same things as well. Working on the car, doing yard work, whatever we could do. But then my father and myself did what far too many fathers and sons do, is we argued and we drifted. I joined the Navy shortly after that and traveled the world and ended up settling here in Arizona with my family. My son and daughter are here in attendance. My sister is watching. And in 2018, I learned that my father was ill. And so in June of that year, he invited me to come out and visit him in Kentucky, where he had retired with his lovely wife, Gerda. And she's watching as well. And I wish you were here, and I wish Dad was as well. So on that first day when I got there, Dad said, we're on his farm, and we're gonna go outside. And Dad was a hat guy. He had all kinds of hats. And I said, hey, Dad, you got a hat I can wear? And he gave me this hat. This is an Amish hat that was given to him by other Amish gentlemen that he worked with in the area with hauling materials and such. And he told me it looked good on me. And so I've worn this hat every time I've been in the East for my duties as a master until today. And so now I'm going to remove this hat, but I will use it in the future for sure. I'm going to don my hat of choice for my year. The term worshipful master was something that was kind of alien to me when I became a Mason. The term worshipful, I knew what that meant, but how does a person that sits up here be considered worshipful? But it simply just means it's an old term for one who is deserving respect. And so the top hat is just a formal type of hat wear that has been a tradition for masters in the lodge for centuries. Now that I'm formally dressed for my year with my jewel, my apron, and my hat, we'll talk about the year we've had. 2020 has been a very tough year for everyone. With the vaccine just around the corner, we're hopeful that that will make a huge difference and help us to overcome this pandemic. I mentioned earlier that I would come back to 1920. That was the year we were coming out of the Spanish flu, and it was horrific. And one of our fellow brothers, Mark Geyer, did some research and found out that the year 1920, when this lodge was only 9 years old, which, by the way, this lodge became a lodge before Arizona was a state, so it's considered an Arizona Territorial Lodge. You'll see that on our sign. It says AT 1911. But Mark informed us that that was one of the busiest years they had had. And so that's my goal for this year, is to try and get back to some normalcy safely, and we will observe the necessary precautions to keep everyone safe. But it's important that we maintain our focus and keep moving forward at this time. I wanted to address our outgoing master, worshipful brother Matthew Adams, and express to him that I understand his disappointment with not being able to have as much activity in the East as he hoped. Because as Tim had mentioned earlier, worshipful brother Tim, on how much effort and work it takes to get here. And so during this year, when things get back to be more normal, my goal and intentions are to have Matthew involved and help out as much as possible. In closing, I just want to say that I'm humbled, honored, and eager to serve. And I'm excited about the year, and I thank you all for coming. Thank you. So now we're going to do some introductions. I'll start off with my family. My son and daughter are here, Jessica and Sam. And my best friend, Bob, is also here in attendance. And my sister watching knows Bob very well. Next up, we have our junior warden, and I believe he's alone. We have Brother Mark Geyer has his family here. Would you please rise and introduce your family?
Yeah, my beautiful wife, Anne Marie, and my wonderful son, Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you. Is the spouse here, I believe?
My brother, like Louise.
Excellent. Do we have Marshall? Do you have your spouse here?
Yes, I came with my lovely wife, Sarah.
Saved someone kind of special to me from last. Brother Secretary Frank Moyer, longtime secretary, an outstanding gentleman, and I'm looking forward to being side by side with you through this year. Please introduce us to your guest, your lovely wife, Myra.
It's a hard act to follow. Or to live up to, either way you want to do it. Yeah, this is my lovely wife, Myra. We've been together for 60 years. And 60? 60. How she did it, I don't know. Anyway, I really just to say a couple quick words because you know I'm always short of what to say. But Don, it's been a pleasure. I've been working with you in the past. I am really looking forward to this coming year. I know we'll come out of the pandemic much better than what we came last year. And we will make great strides forward. And I'm looking forward to being at your side.
Excellent. Thank you, good sir. And Brother Chaplain, would you lead us in the benediction service? That's all I need about
Supreme Grand Master, ruler of heaven and earth, as this ceremony of ours comes to an end, so too does another calendar year come to an end. A year for some of unbearable pain and fears, but also a year of unbelievable courage and compassion. So do we now ask your blessing on our order and on the brothers who have now taken up the working tools of their new offices. Grant them inspiration and guidance in their labors, that each one of them, each one of us, may practice both inside and outside the lodge those great moral duties which are inculcated within it, and to do it in thy holy name. Amen.
So mote it be.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now declare this lodge of the 2021 officer installation of Oriental number 20 to be duly closed. Thank you.
Officers, return your gloves so we can get them laundered and ready for the next batch.
Let's do that all.
Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We really appreciate it. It was great to see such a good virtual turnout. You guys are amazing. We had more people online probably than we actually had in the building. So when Don sees this, he's just going to be so ecstatic because we've recorded it. So definitely great. I'm going to go ahead and open up for any discussion that you'd like to have. I'm going to stick around for just a couple minutes with you guys if you want. Yeah. We did. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So, gentlemen, I'm trying to unmute you. If you're okay to unmute yourselves. You guys are more than happy to.
Congratulations, Brother Luke. That went well.
Thank you. Thank you guys very, very much. Thank you, Dewey.
Fantastic job.
It was well done meeting.
For sure, Brother Luke. I think Mark's standing right next to you if got my bearings right in the lodge. I just, while you guys are standing there, just want to thank you for all your help this year in running these online meetings, getting us technically up to speed on the meetings, and especially for this installation of setting up the cameras and the sound. Everything was great. It was like we were there. So thank you guys, both of you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Doug Sprague from Mountain Zion Lodge 120, Chilliwack, British Columbia, under the jurisdiction of BC and Yukon. Very well done. I was impressed, and I'd like to congratulate your new slate of officers for 2021. I know it's going to be a tough year for them, but I'm sure they'll do an excellent job, and thank you very much for having me attend today. And also hi to my buddy Willie and Charlie. They're my 9 o'clock toast friends. Everybody stay safe and have a great day.
Thank you very, very much.
My name is Charles Buchanan, Prince of Wales Lodge number 100 in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, under the Grand Lodge of British Columbia and Yukon. Congratulations. It was very well done. I'm particularly happy because I'm an emulation book. I use English book in my lodge. And to see that the charge to the master and the charge to the wardens were 99% of my English working. So it's so beautiful to see that the ritual over the centuries has maintained itself. Congratulations to everybody. I'm sure you have a great year.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Just kind of panning over so you guys can see the lodge room here. We are now facing the west. That was Jay and his wife. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That was pretty awesome. Look how many people are here. This is so cool.
And we had probably even more people online as well.
Hey, Suresh, I see you. Oh, wow.
How you doing, brother?
Hey, there's Matt.
Yeah, yeah.
Matt.
We have a lot of people. There's Jeremy, George,
Hey, Jeremy. Oh, wow. Look at that. There's all kinds. This is awesome.
Brother Alan from Harry
Thank you
S.
all
Truman.
for
We've
making
got
this possible.
Gary Broniel over there.
Nice.
Gary. We've got William out of El Paso. Dewey from Florence. We've got Dennis from Oriental 20 and Apache 69. I don't know if I said George from Oriental 20 in the Grand Lodge. Our junior
Join the meeting.
Matt Adams. Yep.
Someone else.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. This is really cool. Well, thank you guys. Fantastic.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being an officer this year. I appreciate that.
And it's we're live on air.
We've got Jeremy Fry joining us. Jeremy, I want to just say thanks for joining us today. We had Bill Robertson earlier. It looks like he's still on. He may have left his office. We've also got Danya Alexander as well. Thank you so much for joining today. You guys are welcome to talk and chat if you want.
Boys, I've never seen anybody so quiet before.
Yeah, it's also quiet in here as well. Not too many people. Usually we'll have maybe 70 people or so in here.
Well, listen, brothers, I've got to go get a Christmas tree, so thank you very much for allowing me to attend. Everybody have a great year. Very Merry Christmas. And please stay safe, and hopefully we'll do this again in the new year. Take care. See you, Charlie. See you, Willie.
See you tonight.
Yep. No, I don't come on the weekend. I
Oh,
get
that's
back
right.
to the wife.
Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate all of our Canadian visitors, especially those from British Columbia and the Yukon jurisdiction. We really love you guys. Thank you.
Luke, I thought it was awesome.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother Dennis.
I was very impressed. Technology's come a long way.
It's come quite a long way. We could not have done this 10 years ago. One of you guys asked what cameras are we using. We're using Vixia RH800s, I believe. We have 3 of them set up. Obviously, we have Zoom, and then we have it all connected to our internet, hardwired. And then that's all connected through a desktop computer that's just sitting right next to me. I'm sitting in the north. I was the one doing the camera that I'll move now. This camera right here, and then we had the other 2 cameras set up that were stationary the entire time. So the one you're seeing now with Worshipful Brother Don is where we would film anybody that was talking up in the east, and then I would switch over to camera number 3, which is where the installing officers would stand with Worshipful Brother Roy Bergeron to receive either their staffs or their jewels.
Congratulations, John. See you later.
So thank you guys so much. I'm going to just make sure I've answered all your questions on chat. Charles, I hope that answered your question for you. And I think that's it. I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Really appreciate you guys coming out. We'll go ahead and sign off for now. We will keep in touch with everyone if you want to join more of our ceremonies and friend-to-friend programs that we do on most Tuesdays. So I really appreciate you guys, and be safe out there, okay? Be safe to your families, be safe to your coworkers and your friends as well. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Yeah, I'll go ahead and stop.